The story of King Leonidas and the mighty Spartan army who took on 1 million Persians, now known as Turks, and of course killed thousands upon thousands upon thousands of them. A million-strong army couldn't take them on, and this army was headed by King Xerxes, and there was a film made about it called 300. Now, the British government gleefully call Greece and Turkey traditional rivals, as if it's the Oxford and Cambridge boat race. Well, they're not traditional rivals, they are Masonic rivals. And the rivalry between Greeks and Turks has been implemented by the Masons and Tares for thousands of years, and it still goes on to this very day. And it's very important for them to keep the Greeks and the Turks hating and fearful of each other. However, when they meet in other countries, or even in each other's countries, they all sit down and have coffee together and cigarettes and talk and are friends, and they even intermarry. But both governments continually play on this traditional, so-called traditional rivalry, and the British government do too. They're always there meddling in the middle. Now let's take the story of King Xerxes and the Spartans, for instance. Yeah, this is a story that the Turks hate, and that many Persians to this day hate, and they hate Alexander the Great as well. But the thing is, the Bible says that the great men of renown are in fact the people who were born of the illegal union between fallen angels and human women, the daughters of Cain, as it turns out. So these are not human beings, therefore they are not Greeks. Therefore, there is no reason for anyone who is Persian or Turkish to be resentful concerning these fairy stories that have been built up over many years and go on to this day. To this day, there is still resentment concerning King Leonidas, for instance, in Persia, and Alexander the Great. But let's just, for the moment, stick to this story of King Leonidas and his mighty army. So 300 of them, and they took on like 1 million Persians. First of all, let's look at the logistics of this complete and utter tripe. Allegedly, they managed to fight off 1 million Persians by holding off between two mountains. So there was one pathway for the opposing army to attack them from, so they couldn't be attacked from the sides or from behind. Okay, everything sounds fine so far, but remember, they all had spears and shields and swords. That was it basically, and knives, of course, yeah? And they had archers too. Now let's just say that there's a line of 300, or a doubled line of 150 at front, 150 behind, of these so-called Spartans, who were in fact Nephilim, fighting 1 million human beings from Persia. Now they all advance forward towards these pretend Greeks with their spears and shields, and the first wave of attack, they stab them. The Greeks, so-called Greeks, stab them with their spears, and they fall to the ground. And the next line behind also gets stabbed and fall to the ground, and so on and so forth. Now that's completely impossible, and the reason it's impossible is because once they've killed 4 or 5 lines of opposing troops, there would be a pile of bodies in front of them, and they would have to have spears which are twice as long. All of these people rushing forward would be falling over each other. They'd be falling over the bodies that have fallen in front of them. So there would be a pile of bodies, and there would be blood, there would be arms, legs, heads, people's helmets, armour, there would be spears, there would be swords, there would be shields, and these people would have to be climbing over this ever-growing mountain of dead bodies to be continually killed by these pretend Greeks, by these Nephilim. So as you can see, it's not possible for that story to be true. It's a complete and utter fabrication, and it's been fabricated for one purpose only. That's for the vanity of the Greek people and to the annoyance of the Turkish people and Persian people, who've always considered themselves to be mighty warriors, just like the Greeks have, because their governments, which are both Masonic and both on the same side, dividing us, have perpetuated that myth continually. So to this day, when you hear this story of this incredibly powerful army of just 300 so-called men taking on 1 million Persians and wiping out thousands of them in this path, just look at the logistics. It's not possible. They would have to be climbing over a mountain of dead bodies and armour and shields and spears, etc. It can't be true. It can't possibly be true. What was happening? Was someone clearing up the bodies as the attack went on? Ridiculous. A ridiculous fairy story which no one has taken the time to examine carefully and see that it cannot possibly be true. Sorry guys, but you've all been taken for a ride. If you believed that story about the Spartans taking on Xerxes' army and how the battle actually went on, well, you might as well be watching cartoons on the Cartoon Network and believing that they're real as well. Load of rubbish.